Hi guys, Ray here, City Fan TV. Hope you're all doing very well. And I'm joined by the bee in the bang, Bernard
The
Denny.
bee in the bong. The bee in the bong, Bernard. That's the one.
Bee in the bang, Bernard Denny. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, I'm all right, mate. Yeah, just doing something on old Riyadh at the moment. Just getting a little, I won't call it a tribute, a little look back at his time at City. And that's taken me a bit longer with five seasons, a bit longer than normal, but we're getting through it. I'm up to last season now, so we're getting there.
Fantastic. Hey guys, look, we're here to talk about the Community Shield. Community Shield on Sunday. Are you boycotting it, Bernard, or are you going?
No, I give in, didn't I, when it was 4 o'clock. And I'll be honest with you, because I'm looking at my mate who gets me tickets and stuff. I'm not going to be getting to that many this season because it's looking a bit dodgy. I mean, they're flying out of the window now. They're not. I think the Sheffield United ones are down to about 26,000 points. He's got 21,000, my mate. So even he's not going. You know,
It's
so he's going to
22,500.
Yeah, I mean, he's picking and choosing what he's going to. So I mean, I'm going to be struggling. I say, well, I might get to a couple of cup games if we get a big allocation, but I'm going to be struggling. I think this year, a lot of people are. I think looking at how these community shield tickets have sold, etc. I know they've gone to members rather than season card holders, but I think being treble winners has brought a lot of people out of the woodwork for turning up for these games.
Hey, everybody wants to support the winners. It's a way it is, isn't it? Everybody wants to support the team that are winning, and that happens to be Manchester City. I'm not going to go into too much about what I'm up to. But my last day in Northern Ireland, I'm off today, and I would have boycotted the game on Sunday probably, but I'm working on Sunday, so I mean up in Scotland, so that kind of put pay to any tough decisions I made. I would have said I would have boycotted it, but you know me, I'd have turned to do some filming, and don't go to the game. But anyway, we're going to start off by briefly looking at both teams' incomings and outgoings, very briefly, more on City than on Arsenal. So City have let Riyad Mahrez, who personally I'm not going to miss. And I don't say that in a bad way, but he wasn't a member of the first 11 at the end of last season. And obviously, Ilkay Gundogan, who was. And I think we will miss him. We'll find out how much we miss him. Whether I think we're going to have to play a bit differently this season because he's gone. And it may be we do really well this season and people say, hey, he didn't make any difference. But no, we're having to play differently. What do you think about the two guys that have gone?
Yeah, they've gone. Yeah, I think at the moment, obviously, I'm just not worried, but I think Gundo will be a bigger miss than we perhaps think. Mahrez not so much, because his inconsistencies were his consistencies, if you like, with Mahrez. And as I said, I've been doing this thing on him, and it just, looking back at things, it makes you realise just how inconsistent he was. Yeah. He could be brilliant, he could be absolute garbage. So. Not so much, but obviously with who we brought in, it'll be, at the moment I would say we're probably slightly weaker, but obviously defensively you should, if this guy comes today, which is all accounts he is, have the medical and stuff, isn't he? So Guardiola, defensively we should be stronger long term, but I think he'll take a little bit of time to settle in, and Pep's not going to throw him in straight away. So, I'm fairly sure Pep will ease him in. I don't think he'll be lining up alongside Diaz straight away. I'd be surprised if he is. But quality, isn't he? But I think overall, going forward, I think we're a little bit weaker because I think he's going to rely on people like Stones and Rico Lewis. And I've not been, even though they've done a great job, they're not actually creating creativity-wise. So I think we're going to miss Gundo for that, and perhaps Mahrez to a lesser extent.
Yeah, well, let's see if, in terms of, you mentioned one of them, Guardiola, coming in, and we've also got the older man, Kovacic, at 29. So I think he's, look, people want to have a go at him, but he's won Champions League left, right and centre. He's a part of that great Croatian team. Until last season, he's part of a decent Chelsea team. So, I'm not going to diss him. I think he's going to be a very, very good player for us. And you've got to remember, we've got, no more signings as such, but we've got McAtee coming back. We've got Oscar Bob, who's been out on tour. And we've got still got Cole Palmer, Peroni, Gomez, and people forget these. So we'll wait and see. And from Pep's press conference, as I said weeks and weeks and weeks ago, I think there will be at least one more new signing. So we'll wait and see. Moving on to the Gunners, or the Gooners, the Arsenal. I'm not going to go through it too much, but they made a few signings. Obviously, Declan Rice for £105 million. They got that Justin Timber for, I don't know what price that was. But 30-40 million. They got somebody else. So, to be honest, I'm not forced to who it was. But they spent 200 million quid, 210 million quid. And
Havertz, the guy.
Kai Havertz, that was it, 65 million on Kai Havertz. That's the one. And I don't think he's been ripping up any trees so far. And then there's talk of them spending up 30 to 35, 40 million pounds on, was it David Raya?
Yeah, the one? Keeper, which obviously puts doubts about Ramsdale, doesn't it?
Yeah, but 250 million pounds. Are they buying the league? I mean, surely they must. Surely after spending that much, Arteta must be 600-700 million pounds since he's been there. Surely, this is their time.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I mean, I watched a bit of the Monaco game that they played. Defence, a bit like us, actually. We looked a bit unsure in defence at times, I thought, over on our little tour. I thought we were okay going forward. Nothing fast about us, was there? A little bit deliberate at times, which is a bit of a worry coming into the new season. But, Arsenal, again, I thought Declan Rice was playing a lot more forward than he probably did for West Ham. I think they're going to utilise him a bit more offensively, perhaps, than he has been used at West Ham as well. So that'll be interesting to see how he copes. But of the three players, obviously Timber's a centre half, isn't he? I don't know too much about him. Havertz, I think Havertz will probably have a good start. I think that's how he plays. I think he'll have an Indian summer, not an Indian summer, but what do you call it? Bounce. He'll have the new player bounce, I think, Havertz. And obviously his pace. When he was playing for Chelsea, I thought, well, use his pace, but make sure he passes the ball to someone. He's a bit like Sterling with us for the last couple of seasons. I said it, didn't we, in the shows? I said, get him down that wing, but don't get him shooting, get him putting the ball to someone else. Use his pace, and that's exactly the same with Havertz. He's a similar sort of thing. He can use that pace, but make sure there's someone feeding off him rather than relying on him. But I think he'll have a bit of a bounce starting there. So I think he'll probably do very well early doors, which isn't good news for us, obviously, with the Community Shield coming up. If he plays in that. But I think they're slightly better. I think they're certainly better than they were last season. They've got to be. I don't think they let anyone go. I believe that's Xhaka's gone. Yeah. Well, he's not going to be a big miss. Xhaka's gone, but he's the only main out that they've got. They've got a couple of injuries again. I think Gabby's injured again, isn't he?
Yeah, Gabby's
it'd be interesting. I think they're fired up for this one. I think they want this more than we. I mean, we're always a big scalp, no matter what anyone says. The last few years, we've been the big scalp, but now we're going to be even a bigger scalp, obviously, as the treble winners. And I think Arsenal and Arteta will be totally fired up for this, and that might just carry them over the line. I've predicted that City will win, but that's just me. That's just my heart. My head seems to think they might. That get up and go and wanting to do us will sort of stand them in good stead on Sunday, unfortunately. But overall for the season, why not? They're only 5 points behind us. I know we could have been 8 or 11 points clear by the end of this if we'd made an effort the last couple of games. But there's no reason why they can't pick up 5 points. It's whether we can kick on a little bit as well.
Yeah. So you look at the Community Shield and. If City on a no-win situation, if they win, well, they're expected to win, because obviously they beat Arsenal 3 times last season. And each time got easier and easier. But they beat Arsenal 3 times last season. But if City lose, because we play half a team or something, or we're not fully at it, then Arsenal will be on the brink of glory and everything else. A very, very similar situation to last Community Shield last year when Liverpool, beat City. City weren't that great. Haaland missed his chances, and everybody thought Liverpool were going to walk it, and City were going to be struggling. And that isn't the case. And I'll just say, as an aside, I don't know why Arsenal are in this. I mean, they shouldn't have been invited. They didn't win anything last season. I mean, I would have rather played Man United because they won the League Cup, or West Ham, who'd actually won a decent trophy, European trophy.
Yeah. It would have been a good idea. I mean, I obviously before the fixtures came out, it would have been nice perhaps to play Burnley, as the championship winners, just as a one-off. Something like that. But obviously, it would have made a bit of a mockery with us playing them for the first game of the season. But it used to be, as you know yourself, it wasn't automatically the league champions against the FA Cup winners. A lot of teams just didn't want to do it, didn't want to play it. It wasn't worth anything really. So City got invited a couple of times when we won sod all, which is what Arsenal have done this time, but back in the 70s. So I don't see why, as far as a showcase is concerned, and something like this happens, they can't have a sort of fallback situation where they can invite, say, the Italian champions or something different, something a little bit different, It's got to shake it up. All right, it's a full house, isn't it? It's a full house, so they're not going to complain, are they? It's all sold out, so the FA will be quite happy. So that makes why should they change then on that basis? But as you said, Arsenal done now to deserve to be there. They're not going to walk off with our 3 trophies that are going to be on the pitch because there are. So even if they win, you can have your plate, mate, but you're not having those 3 things anyway.
Yeah. So we're going to wrap it up by asking you, Bernard, how you see the game going and what's your score prediction, buddy?
Well, I've put 3-2 for City, but I'm being optimistic. I honestly think Andy Morrison, I think, predicted penalties when I looked at his predictions. He predicted 1-1, and then it'll go to. I don't think there's no extra time, is there? I think it's straight to penalties, is it? I think at the end of the 90 minutes.
It's a minor trophy. I don't really care.
It'll straight to penalties, so it could go to penalties, and they did beat Monaco on penalties the other day. So at least they've had a bit of practice. We probably haven't, and I wouldn't ever bet on City winning on penalties, even though we've got quite a good record, haven't we, recently? I think it'll be tough. I think it'll be a tough game. I can see Arsenal edging it. I just don't we're good enough on the day. I think they've hit the ground. They've played 6 friendlies, certainly 5 friendlies. They might have played 6. So there's sort of. Went back to training 2 weeks before our guys did. I think Pep's saying that. I think Pep's covering his press conference. He's already intimating that we're not quite as up for it as Arsenal are going to be. You read between the lines of what he was saying. So that's a little bit of a worry. And also, for me, it'll make a big difference who he has in goal. Because, of course, they both played a half, didn't they, in the last friendly game, Ortega and Ederson. And to be honest with Arsenal's press, if Ortega plays, I think we're in trouble anyway. Because I think they will, if they do press, it's Ederson will cope with that far better than Ortega. So I think if Pep plays Ortega, which he probably will, we're starting with one arm tied behind our back again, and it could be frightening.
I like Ortega.
But fingers crossed. I'm saying 3-2 for City, but I've no confidence whatsoever.
Okay, I'm going 3-1 to Arsenal. I've never backed against City. I don't think I've ever backed City not to at least get a draw out of a game since I've been in these predictions. But I'm going to go for 3-1 Arsenal because, in all honesty, the game doesn't really matter. I don't think we're going to go at it, giving it everything, because we got that Burnley game, 6 days later. So why, I think we'll play a few kids, but it'll be most. I think
we'll go strong. I don't think we'll play a few kids. I think you go reasonably strong.
Okay, when I say a few kids, maybe 1 or 2, possibly what I'm saying. Maybe Cole Palmer gets a run out, or Gomez or McAtee. I hope he'll chuck somebody in. But like you say, I think there'll be probably 7 or 8 first teamers. I can see Kovacic playing. Don't see Guardiola playing, but I think Kovacic, to give him some time amongst the lads in a proper game, because this, the friendlies.
It will be competitive. It'll be a competitive game. It'll be a good game for Pep and Arteta. Yeah. As I say, it's a friendly, but it will be. We just know it's going to be competitive. Yeah. Certainly from a Arsenal standpoint, it's a bit like the Liverpool game last year. The King Power Stadium. That was they wanted it more than us, and they got it. So it could be that, as you say, 3-1. I certainly wouldn't that would not be unexpected.
I wouldn't worry about it. It's not a good indicator of what's going to come in the season. Right, guys, there you have it. Bernard goes 3-2 City. I'm going 3-1 to Arsenal, and we'll see what happens on Sunday. We might even get a report from Bernard. If City are winning, if City win, we probably won't get a report because they'll be out gallivanting. And if City lose, probably won't get a report either because they'll be drowning in sorrows. But we'll try our best. Finally, guys, I'm going to say, if you are new to the channel, it would be fantastic if you could subscribe. If you could hit that bell icon, you'll be notified as soon as new videos come out. We'll see you around Blues.